Guys, this is Miss Smitty. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to help you go through your ELA final research project. So you're going to be given the instructions for that project this week, but we want to just go through the research process with you because that's one of the most important elements of the project is doing really good quality research. So first, what are we learning? The research process. The research process is the study of materials and sources in order to establish facts and reach new conclusion. It's just a fancy way of saying you're going to study materials and sources, meaning read a bunch of information about a topic or watch videos on it, look at pictures, things like that, to establish facts and reach new conclusions, meaning you're coming up with your own take on the topic and then going to create a presentation on that topic. So why do I need to know the research process? Why is it important? First part of doing a research project is you're just finding information. So you're using credible sources to research a topic you're interested in. Credible is just a fancy way of saying trustworthy, okay? You have to find sources that you know come from a reliable place, right? This would mean you don't use Wikipedia because people can edit Wikipedia. You wouldn't find somebody's personal blog and use that as a source, or something like a Twitter account, right? These are all opinionated when you're looking for facts. You're looking for an actual factual website that can give you information about a topic, okay? Once you've found a bunch of information and learned about that topic, you become an expert, right? So you read information from a variety of sources, and it helps us form an opinion or learn about an interest, right? So the more you know about a topic, the more of an expert you become. You understand the details, right? You understand the nuances of what a topic is. And once you become an expert, you can make informed decisions. So once you become an expert, you can make a decision and decide how to move forward now that you're an expert. So you could think about it maybe like in an election, right? You would want somebody to go and find information about the two people that are running for office, right? You want them to read credible sources like news sources, newspapers, trustworthy sites, find information about those two candidates. And then once they feel like they know a lot about those two candidates, they feel like an expert, right? They say, oh, I know what their platform is. I know what their platform is. And then they can make an informed decision based off of that information. Okay? So how do we do research, right? What is the best way to do research? There are some do's and some don'ts, okay? The 4 things you should do, so do this, is choose a narrow topic, okay? You want to make something or pick something that's just narrow enough that it's easy to understand and to not feel overwhelmed by the topic. So for example, you do not want to use a broad topic like the military, right? The military is big. There's tons of different branches in it. There's a huge history. It's really complicated. So if you tried to research the military, you'd probably get overwhelmed because there's just so much information. But if you narrowed your topic to something like the Army Corps of Engineers, that's a little bit more specific. And so it's easier to research, okay? What you should also do is form a big research question, okay? So something like, why should I strive to be in the Army Corps of Engineers? A question like that makes you think about, okay, well, what are the pros and cons of being in the Army Corps of Engineers? What's some of the benefits, right? You're thinking more broadly about why you would pick that topic or why you would want to research it. But if you are asking a question that's really closed off or a yes or no question that doesn't require research, that's not a good start. So something like, is there a military in the United States? We know the answer to that. It's a yes or no question because it's just common knowledge, okay? You don't want your research to be focused on something that every person already knows, right? You want to dig a little bit deeper and go into kind of the more unknown parts of the topic, okay? You should also read text on the topic and paraphrase the information. We'll go over what paraphrasing looks like, but remember, paraphrasing is basically taking information and putting it in your own words. You do not copy and paste information and pretend like I wrote it. That is plagiarism. That is considered cheating and is a huge no-no in research projects. Do not copy and paste information and pretend like you wrote it. You also want to apply knowledge and take action through the creation of a presentation. So I want your presentation to show me that you know a lot about this topic, right? That you have learned a ton of information and you're now applying that knowledge through the presentation, and even maybe even giving some sort of action for the person who's reading it, right? You know, if your topic was about politics, like we said, you might want to add a slide or two about like what you think about each candidate or why you should vote for one person but not the other. Okay. You also do not create a presentation that shows plagiarism. So it should be original knowledge, or excuse me, original research, and then your research should be reflected in your presentation. You should not just be finding some presentation on a topic and submitting that. It needs to be original presentation that you make. Okay, so let's think about the do's and don'ts again. Again, when you're thinking about a narrow topic, it's something that is specific and you can do research on it and not feel overwhelmed by it. So something like the military, that's too broad. Whereas something like the Army Corps of Engineers, that's just narrow enough that you could go to like their specific website. You could find websites that talk specifically about the Army Corps of Engineers, and it won't be that hard to research. You also have a big question, right? So why should I strive to be in the Army Corps of Engineers? That sort of question gets you thinking about the different aspects of being in the Army Corps of Engineers, right? So like, what's their day-to-day life like? What's the history? What's the pros? What's the cons, right? It gets other questions moving in your head, unlike a question like this that says, is there a military in the United States? We know that, yes, right? Every person knows that. So it's not a good research question. Okay, paraphrasing. This is really important. You need to make sure that when you read text on the topic, you paraphrase the information, okay? You can think of paraphrasing like this. P would be, excuse me, that you put the text in your own words, right? It is in your own way of talking. It is not that you're copying and pasting, you're putting it in your own words. You're avoiding copying the text. You're rearranging similar text. So if it's hard to take that information and put it in your own words, you're at least shifting it around so that it's more in your own words. And you're asking yourself if you included all the important points, right? Was the same message the same? After you've taken the information and paraphrased it, is the overall idea still the same? Okay, so which of these is not part of paraphrasing? Good. So you do not copy and paste information and pretend like you wrote it. Again, this is a huge no-no. In high school and in college, plagiarism is a huge deal. If you copy and paste information and pretend it's yours, it has huge consequences. If you're at a college and you copy and paste information like it's yours and don't credit the source, you can be kicked out of the university, okay? It is a big deal. Do not copy and paste information and pretend like you wrote it. Okay, so let's look at an example of paraphrasing versus plagiarizing. Okay, let's look at the quote. It says, bats use echolocation to navigate and find food in the dark. To echolocate, bats send out sound waves from the mouth or nose. And then it gives me the source, www.askthebiologist.asu.edu. If I were to paraphrase that, meaning I'm putting it into my own words, but still giving the same message, I could say echolocation works by using sound waves. Using their mouths and noses, bats send out waves that bounce back to them. This is how they find food. Right? It's the same idea, but it's not copying and pasting. It's not using their arrangement of words. It's giving the same idea, but in this person's words. But if I were to copy and paste it, I would just take the whole quote, bats use echolocation to navigate and find food in the dark, and say bats use echolocation to navigate and find food in the dark, right? It's the exact same thing, but they're pretending like they wrote it. That is plagiarism, and you cannot do that, okay? You have to reword the information that you find. So let's look at this example. The original material says, the lion is a muscular, deep-chested cat with a short, rounded head, a reduced neck and round ears. Its fur varies in color from light buff to silvery gray, yellowish red, and dark brown. Okay, so which would be an example of a good paraphrase? Select which one you think is the best paraphrase now. Okay, now I want you to think about what would be an example of plagiarizing. Which one of these options does not reword the original text well enough and would be considered plagiarism? Go ahead and select it now. Okay, so lastly, let's go over the expectations for the project. So this will be your final exam grade. It's a research project. We will begin our research projects today, May 19th, and we will work on them in class every day through May 28th, okay? The research projects are individual and must be ready to turn in on May 28th, okay? This research project will replace your exam grade in ELA. Your exam grade is a separate category on final report cards, similar to the way midterms were. So you'd have, for this semester, it'd be like the third 9 weeks, the fourth 9 weeks count for, I think, a total of 84%. And then your final exam grade counts for 16%. Okay. So, excuse me. You need to be thinking about what you want your topic to be, okay? It can be over any topic of your choosing as long as it's school appropriate. But here are just some examples. So maybe you want to think about a Greek mythology figure that you find interesting. You could talk about forensic anthropology, the pros and cons of exploring space in the ocean, paranormal activity like ghosts, how certain video games are made, how a movie's made, a biography of a person, a celebrity, an athlete, particular careers you find interesting. Can we record our dreams? Are there pirates, mediums, physics, history of a favorite band or singer? Okay, these are just some options. You can do it about anything you want. I really do not care what you choose as long as it is school appropriate and you know that you can do research on the topic. If you can find websites and videos that give you information about this topic, I'm happy. Okay, the last thing that we need to go over is the rubric, right? So how would you get full credit on this assignment? So the first category is that you followed appropriate research process. Okay, that would mean, the light went off, that you found excellent information that demonstrates knowledge of the topic in a logical order, right? So you followed that research process that we talked about, where you're going and you're reading credible sources, you're getting a bunch of different perspectives, and then presenting that research in a proper way. You're paraphrasing it and you're providing your sources, okay? You're also going to want a quality presentation. We're going to think about the quality of your presentation, how well I shared what I found out, okay? That would mean that the visual presentation gives information in my own words, is neat, legible, attractive with correct spelling, right? So it's a high quality presentation. It looks like something's professional. It's a multimedia presentation given in my own words, easy to view with clear information, with correct spelling and attractive layout, right? It looks neat. It's spelled well. It's written well. You add pictures. It looks good, right? We want you to have a good quality presentation. Oh, I forgot to say, research process would be 40 points. So it's clear that you did good research. The quality of the presentation is 30 points. How I used extras to make my presentation richer. So the sequence and the layout, the headings, the subheadings, diagrams, props, pictures, labels, extras add to the quality of the presentation. So are you giving good kind of details in your presentation, right? You're not just giving me kind of blocks of text. You're giving photos, you're giving labels, pictures, captions, videos, right? You're adding to it and making it a really simple but attractive layout, right? So that's 15 points. And then we want you to know, include the resources that you used. So you have at least 4 resources provided on a separate page of the slides, okay? That will be 15 points. And then you have the ability to get an extra 5 points if you just have a wow factor, okay? That could mean a lot of things for a lot of different people. For some people, that could mean, going the extra step and adding just details that we can tell you put a lot of time and effort into the project. That could mean really good writing. It could mean that you draw a picture of your own, that you create something of your own and put it into the presentation. It can mean a lot of different things. It just means that we can tell that you put a lot of time and effort into making the best presentation that it can be, okay? All of that adds up to 100 points, okay? Obviously, we just want you to spend this week really trying to become an expert on your topic. That is the goal: is become so knowledgeable about your topic that you could give a presentation on this with like your eyes closed, right? That it becomes so you become so knowledgeable that you're more than prepared to make a presentation. Okay. If you have any questions, please just email me, Miss Minnie, or Miss Caruth, and we'll happily answer any questions you have about the project. All right. Bye, guys.